So let's get started. The first thing you're going to need is a sewing machine. I use a Singer Quantum Stylus 9960. It's not the first machine I bought. This is like the fourth machine I bought since I started learning how to sew, or let's say wanting to learn how to sew. So you can buy any kind of machine. There's Singers, there's Brothers, there's Juki's, there's all types of machines. There's Genome, different brands. Okay, I have a bunch of sewing supplies on here. These I think are the must-have sewing supplies for a beginner sewer, and we're going to go over each and every one of them. Okay, so on to needles. We have different types of needles here. So of course you're going to need sewing machine needles, and there are different types of needles. Universal needles can be used for any fabric, and then you have knit needles or jersey ballpoint needles that you use for knit fabrics. And there are different sizes of needles, and you're going to and as we go along, I'm going to be telling you what needle you need for what project, what size, what type, okay? And then you do have hand sewing needles of different lengths and sizes, and you mostly use that for hemming. You're also going to need thread, of course, thread for sewing. There are different types of thread, and we're going to be talking about the different types of thread you need for the different types of projects we're going to be doing. You have different sizes, of course, and you have they're made of different fabrics. So as we go along, I'm going to let you know what type of thread you would need. But to start, you probably want to get 100% polyester or 50% cotton and 50% polyester thread, or just get a universal thread, okay? And whatever size that you can afford. There are different sizes of them. Pins and pegs. So you're definitely going to need pins to hold your pieces of fabric together, especially as a beginner sewer, because keeping the fabric together is going to be hard when sewing. So at the beginning, use pins, hold your fabric together, your projects together while sewing. There are different types of pins, and then of different sizes and length, and there are different pins for different fabrics. As we go along, I'm going to tell you what pin is better for what fabric, because some of them can be so big and create a hole in your fabric. So we're going to be learning more on that as we go along. And then pegs, of course, those three little people over there, not people, the things, you can use to hold your fabric as well while sewing if you don't want to use pins, okay? Pin cushions. Of course, you're going to need pin cushions to, as you sew, while you take out your pins, of course, you want to place them somewhere, and you just put it in your pin cushion, and it will help from keeping them, being all over your house or your sewing space, so you don't end up stepping on the pin. The different types of things that you can use for your pins. There's also like magnetic balls that you can use for pins, but I don't have any of those. A pin cushion is fine, and you can have a wrist pin cushion as well, and that helps when you're sewing. Okay, so you're going to need markers, of course, to mark your fabric. I don't know, you can use a pencil marker or chalk, Taylor's chalk, and I got some of them from Amazon and Joann's, okay? And you want to buy removable pencils or marker pens. I have marker pens. I don't know where they are right now, but to start with, you could buy marker pencils, or make sure it's removable, okay? So it's not going to stain your fabric, and then you can wash it off. So of course you're going to need scissors to cut your fabric, and also to cut your thread if you don't have a thread cutter on your sewing machine or automatic thread cutter. You're going to definitely need this fabric scissors. You don't want to use paper scissors or scissors that is used for some other thing. on your fabric. You want to use fabric scissors, and you do not want to use your fabric scissors to cut paper or cut anything else. It should strictly be for your fabric. Pinky shears. Now this item is not a must, but I have it because when I first started, I didn't have a serger. So, I use pinking shears to, to kind of keep my fabric from fraying, and to kind of, decorate the edges of my fabric, because you use a serger to kind of keep, your fabric together, or your seam allowances together. A pinking shears is good. A seam gauge you can use, to measure seam allowances or to measure your hem allowance. And if you don't have a seam gauge, you could just use a grid ruler. A grid ruler is also good for that, to measure your seam allowances and to measure your hem allowances. Seam rippers. Of course, you need seam rippers to rip out a seam that you didn't do properly. As a beginner sewer, that's almost like an everyday thing. You're going to need your seam ripper to take out, rip out seams and stuff like that, okay? I have a multiple of them. They're always present when I'm sewing, because every now and then you make a mistake. Hey, that's life. Last but not the least, a pressing iron with steam, of course, to press your projects or your fabric pieces as you sew along, and an ironing table, ironing board, whatever you have, a portable one, or just a standing ironing table is fine. We're going to talk about pressing tools later on, but not in this video. Okay, so most of the items we have talked about are must-have for a beginner sewer. Some other item I think that might help is not a must. Fabric glue. Okay, when I first started, I always used to use fabric glue to glue my pieces together at the seam allowance before I sew, because it was so hard for me to get, to sew straight or without my fabric, bulging and just looking a mess. So I always use fabric glue to hold them together before I sew them. And there were projects that didn't even need me to sew or need all that much sewing. I use fabric glue on them, but it's not a must-have. Okay, so that's all for beginners sewing supplies. Please subscribe to this channel. I'm going to be doing a video on must-have beginner pattern making supplies. Please watch out for that video. Subscribe to this channel, and thank you for watching.